So we are reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki. We are on the chapter Overcoming Obstacles, page number 192 of the book and 134 of the PDF.
He constantly told Mike and me that the greatest reason for lack of financial success was because most people played it too safe. People are so afraid of losing that they lose, were his words.
So,
You muted yourself.
This is important simply because what happens is that if you are afraid of something, you are operating from the left side of it. So the point is that if you are operating from the left side of the grid, no manifestation can take place, right? So if no manifestation is taking place, definitely you are not going to be successful. So the point is very clear that you need to start operating from the right side of the grid and not from the left side of the grid.
Fran Tarkenton, a one-time great NFL quarterback, says it's still another way. Winning means being unafraid to lose.
Now, this is also very, very important, right? If you're afraid of if there is a fear of losing, then you will never take the step, right? The point is that you ask any successful person, they have always failed, they have always lost. But the trick in that is to get up and do it again. The more you do it, the more muscle memory you will develop, and the better you will become at doing whatever you are doing. So if you're persistent in continuing to practice whatever you're practicing, automatically things start to work for you.
In my own life, I've noticed that winning usually follows losing. Before I finally learned to ride a bike, I first fell down many times. I've never met a golfer who has never lost a golf ball. I've never met people who have fallen in love who have never had their heart broken. And I've never met someone rich who has never lost money. So, for most people, the reason they don't win financially is because the pain of losing money is far greater than the joy of being rich. Another saying in Texas is everyone wants to go to heaven, but no one wants to die. Most people dream of being rich but are terrified of losing money, so they never get to heaven.
So this is beautiful, right? You want to go to heaven, but you don't want to die. So how are you going to go to heaven? So you want moksha, but you're not willing to transcend and leave this physical body, leave your attachments. So how are you going to get moksha? Never, not possible. Shimangla, you're muted.
Rich Dad used to tell Mike and me stories about his trips to Texas. If you really want to learn the attitude of how to handle risk, losing, and failure, go to San Antonio and visit the Alamo. The Alamo is a great story of brave people who chose to fight, knowing there was no hope of success. They chose to die instead of surrendering. It's an inspiring story worthy of study. Nonetheless, it's still a tragic military defeat. They got their butts kicked. So, how do Texans handle failure? They still shout, "Remember the Alamo." For most people, the reason they don't win financially is because the pain of losing money is far greater than the joy of being rich. Mike and I heard this story a lot. He always told us this story when he was about to go into a big deal and he was nervous. After he had done all his due diligence and it was time to put up or shut up, he told us this story. Every time he was afraid of making a mistake or losing money, he told us this story. It gave him strength, for it reminded him that he could always turn a financial loss into a financial win. Rich Dad knew that failure would only make him stronger and smarter. It's not that he wanted to lose. He just knew who he was and how he would take a loss. He would take a loss and make it a win. That's what made him a winner and others losers. It gave him the courage to cross the line when others backed out. That's why I like Texans so much, he would say. They took a great failure and turned it into inspiration. As well, a tourist destination that makes them millions.
So, so again, we can always learn from our mistakes. We can always learn from our losses. If we learn from them, then they become teachers. It automatically becomes a win. But if you get stuck, I did this, I did that, and you go into the left side of the grid with that loss or that defeat, or when you collapse and you don't get up and do it again, then you are creating a problem for yourself.
But probably his words that mean the most to me today are these: Texans don't bury their failures, they get inspired by them. They take their failures and turn them into rallying cries. Failures inspires Texans to become winners. But that formula is not just the formula for Texans. It is the formula for all winners. I've said that falling off my bike was part of learning to ride. I remember falling off only made me more determined to learn to ride, not less. I also said that I have never met a golfer who has never lost a ball. For top professional golfers, losing a ball or a tournament provides the inspiration to be better, to practice harder, to study more. That's what makes them better. For winners, losing inspires them. For losers, losing defeats them.
So this is very important, right? For a winner with an attitude which is operating from the right side of the grid, anything will inspire you. You can get inspiration. You can feel that inspiration. You can see the beauty. You can see the gratitude in anything that is there around you. But losers who are operating from the left side of the grid will always see the depleting stuff. They will always notice what is wrong with a situation, not what is right or what it can be, right? What is the potential in a situation? They're never going to see that. So what is the attitude with which you are operating becomes extremely important. I've been doing biofield tuning, and I find that whenever the earth's when the sun star gets stuck at the eye level over here, I find that it is very important to point to the person concerned, whoever is getting the tuning done, that what is the way that you are observing things. What do you see when you see something? It becomes very important. And then to get the grid in front of you and see from where are you observing. Are you observing it from the left side or the right side? And that itself will tell you whether you're going to succeed, you're going to fail, whether it's going to happen, it's not going to happen, right? Because your attitude to whatever is happening around you is 90% of the game, according to me. If your attitude is correct, you'll always come out a winner. But if your attitude is not correct, you will always come out a loser. Even if you won, you lost.
Failure inspires winners, failure defeats losers. I like to quote John D. Rockefeller, who said, I always try to turn every disaster into an opportunity. And being Japanese American, I can say this. Many people say that Pearl Harbor was an American mistake. I say it was a Japanese mistake. From the movie Tora Tora Tora, a somber Japanese admiral says to his cheering subordinates, I'm afraid we have awakened a sleeping giant. Remember Pearl Harbor? Became a rallying cry. It turned one of America's greatest losses into the reason to win. This great defeat gave America strength, and America soon emerged as a world power. Failure inspires winners, and failure defeats losers. It is the biggest secret of winners. It's the secret that losers do not know. The greatest secret of winners is that failure inspires winning. Thus, they are not afraid of losing. Repeating Frank Tarkenton's quote, winning means being unafraid to lose. People like Frank Tarkenton are not afraid of losing because they know who they are. They hate losing, so they know that losing will only inspire them to become better. There is a big difference between hating losing and being afraid to lose. Most people are so afraid of losing money that they lose. They go broke over a duplay. Financially, they play life too safe and too small. They buy big houses and big cars, but not big investments. The main reason that over 90% of the American public struggles financially is because they play not to lose. They don't play to win.
So, so when you look at it, he says most people are afraid of losing money that they lose. They go broke over a duplex. Financially, they play too safe and too small, but this is the clincher. They buy big houses and big cars, but not big investments, right? So now going back to the first few chapters, very clearly said that anything that is not creating resources or generating income is a liability. Now, if you're going to buy a big car, you're going to buy a big house, your maintenance costs, your taxes on that, your fuel consumption, everything is going to be higher. So these big cars and big houses become liabilities. They're not income generating assets. And what he is talking about is investing in assets which generate income, right? Not become a liability for you. And most Americans, you will see that as soon as they get a pay rise, and over here also, I'm seeing that when we go for Vastu, people are always buying more than what they can afford. So when you're stepping up, you're putting a strain in your resources, and automatically then it starts to play on your pocket, right? Because you can't afford it. Then you start paying interest, and all that stuff starts happening. And the house you're living in, then it's not generating any resources. So again, it becomes the biggest liability. So he clearly says over here, your house, in most cases, the house becomes the biggest liability.
They go to their financial planners or accountants or stockbrokers and buy a balanced portfolio. Most have lots of cash in CDs, low yield bonds, mutual funds that can be traded within a mutual fund family, and a few individual stocks. It is a safe and sensible portfolio, but it is not a winning portfolio. It is a portfolio of someone playing not to lose. Don't get me wrong, it's probably a better portfolio than more than 70% of the population has, and that's frightening. It's a great portfolio for someone who loves safety. But playing it safe and balanced on your investment portfolio is not the way successful investors play the game. If you have little money and you want to be rich, you must first be focused, not balanced. If you look at any successful person, at the start they were not balanced. Balanced people go nowhere, they stay in one spot. To make progress, you must first go unbalanced. Just look at how you make progress walking.
So, so when you look at it, right, people who've made it big took a big risk. They made a lot of money and then they started their career. If you see most of the people who made it big. Now, people who operate mediocrely, and that includes most of us, we are creating safety. We first look at safety and then we look at risk. Having said that, what I have found is, in my view, that you must have something in cash, but the balance you must invest properly so that it starts to generate income for you. Becoming financially free is extremely important for anyone, right? And being financially free means what? Having assets which are generating enough income to take care of all your needs so that you don't have to work for money anymore. You can work for growth. You can work for learning. You can work for getting knowledge and then moving ahead in life.
Thomas Edison was not balanced, he was focused. Bill Gates was not balanced, he was focused. Donald Trump is focused. George Soros is focused. George Patton did not take his tanks wide. He focused them and blew through the weak spots in the German line. The French went wide with the Maginot Line, and you know what happened to them. If you have any desire to be rich, you must focus. Do not do what poor people and middle class people do. Put their few eggs in many baskets. Put a lot of your eggs in a few baskets and focus. Follow one course until successful. If you hate losing, play it safe. If losing makes you weak, play it safe. Go with balanced investments. If you're over 25 years old and are terrified of taking risks, don't change. Play it safe, but start early. Start accumulating your nest egg early because it will take time.
So what he says, if you want to play it safe, then start saving early. Because if you start saving early, then it will automatically grow as you grow older, right? Now, if you start your saving when you're 50, then how are you going to save? Because you've eaten everything up. There's no time. Compounding interest, right? So compounding investments, the investment is generating income and the income is generating more investments, and those more investments are again generating income. So we have to start investing early. This is something that we need to teach all our children, that if they are getting a pocket money, they need to start saving their pocket money, not just spend the whole thing. This attitude of saving and investing is very, very important.
But if you have dreams of freedom, of getting out of the rat race, the first question to ask yourself is, how do I respond to failure? If failure inspires you to win, maybe you should go for it, but only maybe. If failure makes you weak or causes you to throw temper tantrums, like spoiled brats who call attorneys to file lawsuits every time something doesn't go their way, then play it safe. Keep your daytime job or buy bonds or mutual funds. But remember, there is risk in those financial instruments also, even though they may appear safe. I say all this mentioning Texas and Tarkenton because stacking the asset column is easy. It's really a low aptitude game. It doesn't take much education. Fifth grade math will do. But building your asset column is a game in which attitude plays a major role. It takes guts, patience, and a great attitude towards failure. Losers avoid failing, and failure turns losers into winners. Just remember the Alamo.
So again, it's a matter of attitude. Okay, so what is your attitude with which you are operating? Are you splurging? Are you investing? Are you indulging your desires, or are you being pragmatic with your investments? That's the distinction over here. So are you buying stuff which is a liability, or are you buying stuff which is an asset? We have to start looking at that.
Overcoming cynicism. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. Most of us know the story of Chicken Little, who ran around warning the barnyard of impending doom. We all know people who are that way. There's a chicken little inside each of us. As I stated earlier, the cynic is really a little chicken. We all get a little chicken when fear and doubt cloud our thoughts. All of us have doubts. I'm not smart. I'm not good enough. So and so is better than me. Our doubts often paralyze us. We play the what if game. What if the economy crashes right after I invest? What if I lose control and I can't pay the money back? What if things don't go as I planned? Or we have friends or loved ones who will remind us of our shortcomings. They often say, "What makes you think you can do that? If it's such a good idea, how come someone else hasn't done it? That will never work. You don't know what you're talking about." These words of doubt often get so loud that we fail to act. A horrible feeling builds in our stomach. Sometimes we can't sleep. We fail to move forward. So we stay with what is safe and opportunities pass us by. We watch life passing by as we sit immobilized with a cold knot in our body. We have all felt this at one time in our lives, some more than others.
So again, most people are risk averse, right? So they'll always give you advice which is not absolutely okay for you. What I would look at doing in this way is that listen to all the advice, right? But then do what you feel is the right thing for you to do. And I think this is where the Monroe processes or all the processes that we are doing in the awareness platform become very, very important, because you can actually go into altered states and get guidance for yourself. Would it be the right time to make this investment or not? What are you feeling when you're going into that altered state? And feel it, right? And then take a decision. Now, when that happens, your ability or probability of being right automatically starts to get enhanced. This is what I'm saying, what I'm getting from experience. So the idea would be that what is the right time? When is the right time? Is this investment good for me or not? We have energetic ways of testing for that. And then when you do it, it automatically works better for you, right? So use the tools. What I mean, people who've attended the programs, use the tools that you've got. They actually work, let me tell you.
Peter Lynch of Fidelity Magellan mutual fund fame refers to warnings about the sky falling as noise, and we all hear it. Noise is either created inside our heads or comes from outside, often from friends, family, co workers, and the media. Lynch recalls the time during the 1950s when the threat of nuclear war was so prevalent in the news that people began building fallout shelters and storing food and water. If they had invested that money wisely in the market, instead of building a fallout shelter, they'd probably be financially independent today.
So what is he saying? If you are spending money on a non-income generating asset, it is not going to yield results. Now, that same amount of money, if you would have invested in an income generating asset, it would have yielded a lot of results. So an example he had given, the amount at which the full island of Manhattan was purchased, if that money had been invested in the markets from that time, it could have bought LA as well as Manhattan together. So this is the beauty of compounding. It's the beauty of investing. So we need to be open to see and continually build our assets, which are income generating, and replow the income back into assets.
When violence breaks out in a city, gun sales go up all over the country. A person dies from rare hamburger meat in the state of Washington, and the Arizona Health Department orders restaurants to have all beef cooked well done. A drug company runs a TV commercial in February showing people catching the flu. Polls go up as well as sales of cold medicine. Most people are poor because when it comes to investing, the world is filled with chicken littles running around yelling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. And chicken littles are effective because every one of us is a little chicken. It often takes great courage to not let rumors and talk of doom and gloom affect your doubts and fears. But a savvy investor knows that the seemingly worst of times is actually the best of times to make money. When everyone else is too afraid to act, they pull the trigger and are rewarded. Some time ago, a friend named Richard came from Boston to visit Kim and me in Phoenix. He was impressed with that what we had done through stocks and real estate. The Phoenix real estate prices were depressed. We spent 2 days showing him what we thought were excellent opportunities for cash flow and capital appreciation. Kim and I are not real estate agents, we are strictly investors. After identifying a unit in a resort community, we called an agent who sold it to him that afternoon. The price was a mere 42,000 for a two-bedroom townhome. Similar units were going for $65,000. He had found a bargain. Excited, he bought it and returned to Boston. 2 weeks later, the agent called to say that our friend had backed out. I called immediately to find out why. All he said was that he talked to his neighbor and his neighbor told him it was a bad deal. He was paying too much. I asked Richard if his neighbor was an investor. Richard said he was not. When I asked why he listened to him, Richard got defensive and simply said he wanted to keep looking. The real estate market in Phoenix turned, and a few years later, that little unit was renting for $1,000 a month to $2,500 in the peak winter months. The unit was worth $95,000. All Richard had to put down was $5,000, and he would have had a start at getting out of the rat race. Today, he still has done nothing. Richard's backing out did not surprise me. It's called buyer's remorse, and it affects all of us. The little chicken won, and a chance at freedom was lost.
So buyer's remorse. Okay, this is something that affects most buyers, and we have to be very, very observant and very aware of this, because if you're buying something, just trust and buy it, right? And then forget it. Because if you're going to have buyer's remorse, you're automatically going onto the left side of the grid. Now, neither will you be able to enjoy that which you have bought, nor it is going to be fruitful for you because you're operating from the left side of the grid. So it is very important that trust what you buy and never get into buyer's remorse. That's the worst thing that you can do to yourself, because when you get into buyer's remorse, you're effectively beating yourself down. And that's again the worst thing that you can do to yourself. So even if you made a mistake, just be filled with gratitude that you had an opportunity to buy what you bought and to use it with love and appreciation and gratitude. That is going to work much better than getting into buyer's remorse.
In another example, I hold a small portion of my assets in tax lien certificates instead of CDs. I earn 16% per year on my money, which certainly beats the interest rates banks offer on CDs. The certificates are secured by real estate and enforced by state law, which is also better than most banks. The formula they're bought on makes them safe. They just lack liquidity. So I look at them as a 2 to 7 year CDs. Almost every time I tell someone that I hold my money this way, especially if they have money in CDs, they will tell me it's risky. They tell me why I should not do it. When I ask them where they get their information, they say from a friend or an investment magazine. They've never done it and they're telling someone who's doing it why they shouldn't. The lowest yield I look for is 16%, but people who are filled with doubt are willing to accept a far lower return. Doubt is expensive. My point is that it's those doubts and cynicism that keep most people poor and playing it safe. The real world is simply waiting for you to get rich. Only a person's doubts keep them poor. As I said, getting out of the rat race is technically easy. It doesn't take much education, but those doubts are cripplers for most people.
So, so when you see, most of the time you're taking advice from people who've actually not done what they are advising you not to do. So if you've not read a book, how can you say that this book is not good? If you've not gone into a process and actually assessed what that process is all about, you cannot say that that process is not good or it doesn't work, right? But most of the time, you will say, wo to bakwas hai. You will hear people saying that, but they've not really done the work. They've not really assessed what is happening. And most of the time, we are taking advice from these kind of people and not taking advice from people who've actually done the work. So whenever you are taking advice from someone, we must be sure to ask them, have you gone through this situation? Have you done it for yourself? Are you talking from just knowledge or hearsay, or are you talking from experience? Now, if the person has experience, then definitely listen to that person. But if the person has no experience, then always whatever they are telling you is a big question mark. You have to take it with a pinch of salt. Whether it is investments, whether it is doing anything, learning anything, going out for an experience, it's the same. If it is hearsay, they've not done it themselves, put a question mark on it. This is what I would advise everyone to do.
Cynics never win, said Rich Dad. Unchecked doubt and fear creates a cynic. Cynics criticize and winners analyze, was another of his favorite sayings. Rich Dad explained that criticism blinded while analysis opened eyes. Analysis allowed winners to see that critics were blind and to see opportunities that everyone else missed. And finding what people miss is key to any success.
Now, this is very important, right? Cynics are always criticizing. Now, if they're always criticizing, then they're always operating from the left side of the grid, right? But when you are analyzing, you are looking for opportunities, you're looking for growth, you're looking for information, you're looking for an opportunity to create something, to grow, to learn, right? There's a very big difference in that. So the difference again, there's something called tark and kutark. When you're doing tark, you're asking the question to learn and to grow, right? When you're doing kutark, you're attempting to put the other guy down and not actually attempting to learn from that person. Now, whenever you're doing kutark, you're always operating from the left side. When you're doing tark, you're analyzing, you're attempting to understand, you're always on the right side of the grid. And again and again, I keep repeating, no manifestation can take place from the left side of the grid. You have to be on the right side for any kind of manifestation to take place.
Real estate is a powerful investment tool for anyone seeking financial independence or freedom. It is a unique investment tool. Yet, every time I mention real estate as a vehicle, I often hear, I don't want to fix toilets. That's what Peter Lynch calls noise. That's what my rich dad would say is the cynic talking. Someone who criticizes and does not analyze. Someone who lets their doubts and fears close their mind instead of open their eyes. So when someone says, I don't want to fix toilets, I want to fire back. What makes you think I want to? They are saying a toilet is more important than what they want. I talk about freedom from the rat race, and they focus on toilets. That is the thought pattern that keeps most people poor. They criticize instead of analyze.
So now this is very important, okay? And this is something that we talk about in the workshops also. Now, when we are going into patterning, let's say, or when we are asking a question, or when we are wanting to achieve something, we have to come down to the core of what we actually want. Now, let us say I think I want a big house, right? Now, why do you want the big house? So that your family is secure and you have health and happiness in that house. So now what is it that you really want? You want security for your family and health and happiness for your family. You don't want the big house, right? So it is very important for us to understand and analyze and come down to the core of what we really want and then focus on it. So now if I really want financial security, and for that if I have to fix a toilet, then so be it. I will fix a toilet if I have to. But what is my aim? To get financial security through an investment. So why do I let having to do something to get that financial security hinder my getting that financial security, right? So that becomes very important. So again, what are you focusing on? What are you looking at? How are you looking at it? Again becomes the crux of the game. So again, the eyes, right? What are you looking at and how are you looking at it?
I don't once hold the key to your success, rich dad would say.
Now this is very, very important. I don't want this, right? And we again and again say in all the awareness programs that the guys up there who are actually helping and supporting us to get and achieve what we want to achieve do not understand not and don't, can't, won't, all these things they don't understand, right? So if you say, I don't want this, they understand this as you want it. Because again, what is happening? When I say I don't want this, what are you focused on? On what you don't want. And wherever your focus of your attention is, that is where energy will flow. And where the energy flows, that is what is going to manifest, right? So when I'm saying I don't want this, I'm actually manifesting it in my life. So that is now this becomes very important again, that we need to focus on what we really want rather than focusing on what we don't want, right? So this becomes very important again.
Because I, too, do not want to fix toilets. I shop hard for a property manager who does fix toilets. And by finding a great property manager who runs houses or apartments, well, my cash flow goes up. But more importantly, a great property manager allows me to buy a lot more real estate since I don't have to fix toilets. A great property manager is key to success in real estate. Finding a good manager is more important to me than the real estate. A great property manager often hears of great deals before real estate agents do, which makes them even more valuable.
So anyone who has his ears to the ground gets the information because they're jacked in, they get the feel, right? So having good people around you is one of the ways that you can ensure success. So always see who is around you. What is the caliber of people around you? Who are you associating with? Again, becomes very, very important.
That is what Rich Dad meant by I don't want hold the key to your success. Because I do not want to fix toilets either, I figured out how to buy more real estate and expedite my getting out of the rat race. The people who continue to say, I don't want to fix toilets, often deny themselves the use of this powerful investment vehicle. Toilets are more important than their freedom.
So what have they done? They've made the toilet more important than their investments. Then what is it that they really desire? They've put a noose around their neck, which is stopping them, or they have tied clamps around their feet, which is not allowing them to realize and actually get what they are really looking for.
In the stock market, I often hear people say, I don't want to lose money. Well, what makes them think I or anyone else likes losing money? They don't make money because they choose to not lose money. Instead of analyzing, they close their minds to another powerful investment vehicle, the stock market. I was riding with a friend past our neighborhood gas station. He looked up and saw that the price of gas was going up and thus the price of oil. My friend is a worrywart or a chicken little. To him, the sky is always going to fall, and it usually does on him. When we
So what is he focusing on? He's focusing on the sky falling, so the sky will fall on him, right? So again, very important. What are you focusing on? What are you keeping in your conscious awareness?
when we got home, he showed me all the stats as to why the price of oil was going to go up over the next few years. Statistics I had never seen before, even though I already owned substantial shares of an existing oil company. With that information, I immediately began looking for and found a new, undervalued oil company that was about to find some oil deposits. My broker was excited about this new company, and I bought 15,000 shares for 65 cents per share.
So now what happened? This guy who was always thinking the sky is going to fall on his head had the data, but he didn't act on it. And this guy, he saw the data, he saw an opportunity, and he acted on it. Okay. Now maybe you don't succeed in one or two shots, but most of the opportunities you take, you will find that you will get a gut feel to be able to take the right opportunity.
3 months later, this same friend and I drove by the same gas station, and sure enough, the price per gallon had gone up nearly 15%. Again, the chicken little worried and complained. I smiled because a month earlier, that little oil company hit oil, and those 15,000 shares went up to more than $3 per share since he had first given me the tip. And the price of gas will continue to go up if what my friend says is true. If more,
Go ahead.
if most people understood how to stop, worked in stock market investing, there would be more people investing to win instead of investing not to lose. A stop is simply a computer command that sells your stock automatically if the price begins to drop, helping to minimize your losses and maximize some gains. It's a great tool for those who are terrified of losing. So, whenever I hear people focusing on their I don't wants rather than what they do want, I know the noise in their head must be loud. Chicken Little has taken over their brain and is yelling, the sky is falling and the toilets are breaking. So they avoid their don't wants, but they play. Chicken Little has taken over their brain and is yelling, the sky is falling and toilets are breaking. So they avoid their don't wants, but they pay a huge price. They may never get what they want in life. Instead of analyzing their inner chicken little, closes their mind. Rich Dad gave me a looking at Chicken Little. Sorry. Rich Dad gave me a way of looking at Chicken Little. Just do what Colonel Sanders did. At the age of 66, he lost his business and began to live on his social security check. It wasn't enough. He went around the country selling his recipe for fried chicken. He was turned down 1009 times before someone said yes, and he went on to become a multimillionaire at an age when most people are quitting. He was a brave and tenacious man, Rich Dad said of Harlan Sanders.
So again, tenacity, right? If you keep doing something, you will find that you'll get better and better and better and better at it. And then you can actually start getting something out of it. Again, we come back to ikigai, right? Is it your passion? Are you good at it? Does the world need it? Can you be paid for it? Okay. As soon as you find your ikigai and you keep working on it, there is no way that you're not going to succeed in what you're looking at doing.
So, when you are in doubt and feeling a little afraid, just do what Colonel Sanders did to his little chicken. He fried it.
So fry all those don'ts and can'ts and won'ts, right? Just fry them so that they don't come into your conscious awareness anymore.
Overcoming laziness. Busy people are often the most lazy. We have all heard stories of a businessman who works hard to earn money. He works hard to be a good provider for his wife and children. He spends long hours at the office and brings work home on weekends. One day he comes home to an empty house. His wife has left with the kids. He knew he and his wife had problems, but rather than work to make the relationship strong, he stayed busy at work. Dismayed, his performance at work slips and he loses his job. Today, I often meet people who are too busy to take care of their wealth, and there are people too busy to take care of their health. The cause is the same. They're busy, and they stay busy as a way of avoiding something they do not want to face. Somebody has to tell them. Deep down, they know. In fact, if you remind them, they often respond with anger or irritation.
So, so it's very important to create balance in your life.
If they aren't busy at work or with the kids, they're often busy watching TV, fishing, playing golf, or shopping. Yet, deep down, they know they are avoiding something important. That's the most common form of laziness by staying busy. So, what is the cure for laziness? The answer is a little greed. For many of us, we were raised thinking of greed or desire as bad. Greedy people are bad people. My mom used to say, yet we all have inside of us this yearning to have nice, new, or exciting things. So, to keep that emotion of desire under control, often parents find ways of suppressing that desire with guilt. You only think about yourself. Don't you know you have brothers and sisters? Was one of my mom's favorites. You want me to buy you what? Was a favorite of my dad. Do you think we are made of money? Do you think money grows on trees? We are not rich people, you know. It wasn't so much the words, but the angry guilt trip that went with the words that got to me. Or the reverse guilt trip was the I'm sacrificing my life to buy this for you. I'm buying this for you because I never had this advantage when I was a kid. I have a neighbor who is stone broke but can't park his car in his garage. The garage is filled with toys for his kids. Those spoiled brats get everything they ask for. I don't want them to know the feeling of want, are his everyday words. He has nothing set aside for their college or his retirement, but his kids have every toy ever made. He recently got a new credit card in the mail and took his kids to visit Las Vegas. I'm doing it for the kids, he said with great sacrifice. Rich Dad believed that the words, I can't afford it, shut down your brain. How can I afford it? Opens up possibilities, excitement, and dreams. Rich Dad forbade the words, I can't afford it. In my real home, that's all I heard. Instead, Rich Dad required his children to say, how can I afford it? He believed that the words, I can't afford it, shut down your brain. It didn't have to think anymore. How can I afford it? Opened up the brain and forced it to think and search for answers.
So this is again classic left side of the brain and right side of the brain. I can't afford it, left side. How can I afford it? Right side. So naturally, when you're on the right side, things will happen. Brain will open up, opportunities will come. Your ability to perceive the opportunity will also be there. If you're on the left side, you will never be able to perceive an opportunity.
Most importantly, he felt the words, I can't afford it, were a lie. And the human spirit knows it. The human spirit is very, very powerful. He would say, it knows it can do anything. By having a lazy mind that says, I can't afford it, a war breaks out inside you. Your spirit is angry, and your lazy mind must defend its lie. The spirit is screaming, come on, let's go to the gym and work out. And the lazy mind says, but I'm tired, I worked really hard today. Or the human spirit says, I'm sick and tired of being poor. Let's get out there and get rich. To which the lazy mind says, rich people are greedy. Besides, it's too much bother. It's not safe. I might lose money. I'm working hard enough as it is. I've got too much to do at work anyway. Look at what I have to do tonight. My boss wants it finished by morning. I can't afford it also causes sadness, a helplessness that leads to despondency and often depression. How can I afford it opens up possibilities, excitement, and dreams. So, Rich Dad was not so concerned about what we wanted to buy as long as we understood that how can I afford it creates a stronger mind and a dynamic spirit.
So again, when you look at it from the principle of the David Hawkins levels of consciousness, right? Apathy is right at the bottom. Depression is right at the bottom. So what is the level of consciousness with which you are operating? If you want something to manifest, if you want to create something, it is very important to raise your level of consciousness so that you can start the manifesting process. So again, being aware of where you're operating from is the key according to me over here.
Thus, he rarely gave Mike or me anything. He would instead ask, how can you afford it? And that included college, which we paid for ourselves. It was not the goal, but the process of attaining the goal that he wanted us to learn. The problem I see today is that there are millions of people who feel guilty about their desire or their greed. It's old conditioning from their childhood. While they desire to have the finer things that life offers, most have been conditioned subconsciously to say, I can't have that, or I'll never be able to afford that. When I decided to exit the rat race, it was simply a question of how can I afford to never work again? And my mind began to kick out answers and solutions. The hardest part was fighting my real parents' dogma. We can't afford that. Stop thinking only about yourself. Why don't you think about others? And other similar sentiments designed to instill guilt to suppress my greed. So, how do you beat laziness? Once again, the answer is a little greed. It's that radio station, WIIFM, which stands for What's in it for me. A person needs to sit down and ask, what would my life be like if I never had to work again? What would I do if I had all the money I needed? Without that little greed, the desire to have something better, progress is not made. Our world progresses because we all desire a better life.
Okay. So this is important here. 1 second. Right. So he says over here, what would my life be like if I never had to work again? So now this becomes important, right? If you start literally analyzing and assessing, if you had all the resources possible in your hands, what would you be doing right now? And let me tell you, that is what you should be doing right now. Because the moment you start doing what you really desire to do, what you really desire to be, the universe will provide the resources for you to be able to do exactly that because you're focusing your attention on that. But what we are focused on is what we can't do, why we can't do. That shift is very, very important to bring into our lives.
Without that little greed, the desire to have something better, progress is not made. Our world progresses because we all desire a better life. New inventions are made because we desire something better. We go to school and study hard because we want something better. So, whenever you find yourself avoiding something you know you should be doing, then the only thing to ask yourself is, what's in it for me? Be a little greedy. It's the best cure for laziness. Too much greed, however, as anything in excess can be, is not good. But just remember what Michael Douglas said in the movie Wall Street: greed is good. Rich Dad said it differently: guilt is worse than greed, for guilt robs the body of its soul. I think Eleanor Roosevelt said it best: do what you feel in your heart to be right, for you will be criticized anyway. You will be damned if you do, and damned if you don't.
So this is again very important here. Guilt in the level of consciousness is lower than greed, right? Because if you are guilty, you're really beating yourself down. So in the level of consciousness, for example, uh, uh, in depression is lower than anger, because when you are angry, you're at least active, you're ready to do something. That becomes very, very important. I think it's 3:15. We can stop here.